Have you ever looked at a river or a lake and just wondered what's really going on under the surface? Well, it turns out there's this entire invisible ecosystem just humming along, doing a cleanup job that is absolutely essential for all of us. And the way we figure out how hard they're working, it's surprisingly clever.
So, to really get a handle on the health of our water, we have to start with a big question. How do you actually measure pollution? I mean, it's not always something you can just look at and see. The answer, as you'll find out, is pretty ingenious.
Okay, so first, meet the cleanup crew. We're talking about trillions and trillions of microscopic bacteria, and their entire job is to eat organic pollution. Things like sugars, fats, and proteins that end up in wastewater. To these little bacteria, all that pollution is simply food.
And here's the cool part. Just like us, when this cleanup crew is working hard, when they're eating a whole lot of food, they need to breathe. They literally pull oxygen out of the water. So if we can measure how much oxygen they're using, we can get a really good idea of exactly how much pollution they're busy cleaning up.
Now, this breathing measurement has a proper scientific name, and it is the absolute key to understanding the health of our water. It's called Carbonaceous Biochemical Oxygen Demand. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful, so we just call it CBOD. Let's just break that down real quick. Carbonaceous just means carbon-based pollution, their food. Biochemical means the work is being done by tiny living things. And oxygen demand, well, that's just how much oxygen they need to get the job done. It's the demand for oxygen created by that carbon-eating crew. Simple as that.
And the process itself is just beautiful in its simplicity. You can see it right here. The bacteria take that organic food, they combine it with oxygen, and they transform it all into harmless stuff like carbon dioxide and water. They are literally nature's ultimate recyclers. But measuring this isn't always so simple. See, there's a little complication that requires a really clever solution. So, what happens if you've got two different types of bacteria in your water sample, and they're both using up oxygen but for totally different reasons? How do you know which crew's breathing you're actually measuring? This is a huge problem if you want to get an accurate reading. And here are our two crews. On one side, you've got our target, the bacteria causing carbonaceous demand, or CBOD, by munching on that organic pollution. But on the other side, you have a completely different crew causing what's called nitrogenous demand, or NBOD, by eating things like ammonia. If you measure them both together, your results are going to be way off. So the whole point here is that we have to isolate just the carbon eaters. The goal is to measure only their oxygen use so we can find out the true amount of organic pollution in the water. It's a value scientists like to call its organic strength. And here is the genius solution. It's a test called the inhibited CBOD₅ test. So scientists take a water sample and they add a special chemical to it. This chemical, this inhibitor, basically tells the nitrogen-eating bacteria to just take a 5-day vacation. It stops them from using up any oxygen. That way, over the 5 days of the test, the only oxygen being used is from our carbon-eating crew. And the result? A pure, super accurate CBOD number. Pretty smart, right?
Okay, so we've got this incredibly precise number from a lab test, but why does it matter so much? I mean, really, who cares? Well, this is where it all comes together. This is where we connect the science in the lab to the real world, right to the lake in your own community.
Believe it or not, this one single number has 4 critical real-world impacts. Okay, so first off, government agencies use the CBOD number to set the actual legal pollution limits for wastewater treatment plants. Second, it protects fish and everything else living in the water. If the CBOD is too high, the bacteria use up all the oxygen and the fish literally can't breathe. Third, engineers use this number to design the guts of multi-million-dollar treatment plants. And finally, the folks who run those plants, they use it every single day to make sure everything is working efficiently to keep our water clean. So, after all that, what's the one big idea you should take away from all this? Well, it really boils down to a very, very simple equation. It's this: healthy water equals a low amount of food for the bacteria. Think about it. If there's not much pollution or food, then the cleanup crew doesn't have to work very hard. They don't use up a lot of oxygen, and the water stays healthy and full of oxygen for all the other creatures that live there. And that's really the bottom line. CBOD is so much more than just some lab test. It's our window into that whole invisible world. It's the tool that lets us listen in on that cleanup crew and understand exactly how much work they have on their plate. And that, in turn, tells us everything about the health of our most precious resource, our water. Which, It kind of leaves us with one last big thought. Now that we know how to measure this organic food for bacteria, it really makes you wonder, what are the biggest sources of it in our world today? And maybe more importantly, what can we do about it?